Welcome back to Grit Gym, guys. We got Danny Twoguns here. Really excited to have him on. I wanted to have Danny on because we train similar demographics, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, or we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Danny's a big guy, about my height, big guy, huge heart. Wears dildos on his head, apparently. He's super educated, super smart, really has a drive to learn more and to be of service to people. And like I said, we work with similar demographics, about that 32 to 68-year-old range, female, non-competitive, but needs to be athletic because they're moms and they're grandmas and they want to look good, feel good. Danny, can you kind of introduce yourself to the Grid Gym people a little bit and kind of let them know who you are, what you're about?
Yes, sir. So, Danny Twoguns, owner of Twoguns Training Systems, co-owner of Movement Forever Fitness. We've been in Erie since 2009. We opened our own sole location in 2013, and that's where we are now, where I'm broadcasting from, just shy of 10,000 square feet, hybrid model similar to yours. Well, we have my brand, the Two Gun side, and then we have my business partner, Jeff. He has the sports performance side. So we operate as one business, but from a marketing entity standpoint, we have a couple different marketing entities so that we don't muddle the message, because we're not going to talk to a college athlete or the mom of athletes the same way we're going to talk to your and I's avatar or demographics.
Yeah.
In this facility, generally, it's going to fall into the 30 to 55 female, looking to move better, feel better, lose fat, but mainly, as you can see by the unicorn horns, one of our brands is, or not one of the things about our brand, is that we look at taking our fitness very seriously, but not taking ourselves too seriously, because we want to have an environment where we get to work out with our friends, not we have to go to that place, that stuffy, rigid gym environment that I simply just don't want to work out in. So we kind of built our facility based around community first, but at the same time, the foundation, as you mentioned, is constantly learning and improving. And we kind of built up this facility that way, and that evolved into opening our second location, still in Erie, about 3 miles from where we are now, 3,000 square foot, and specifically geared toward the higher end fitness, 50 and up, baby boomer type population. It kind of incorrectly got dubbed the old people gym, but it's not at all what it is. It was just kind of, we wanted to have that higher end, more less organized chaos model for fitness, because you walk in here, like your gym, the walls aren't necessarily done. It might be a unicorn horn on my head. I'll have a neon shirt that says always practice safe sets, so, we take ourselves not
By
so
safe
seriously.
sex, do you mean stretch first? Like
So,
foam roll? When you say safe sex, do you mean like stretch and foam roll first?
oh, safe sets, because
I
we got to
was
practice safe sets. Yeah.
like,
uh, but
with
yeah, we kind of, um, Erie is an interesting place because it's a city of about 100,000 that has that small town, 10,000 person feel, but also there are two towns to the east, two towns to the west, two towns to the south, all of which essentially funnel through Erie. So
cool.
altogether, there's about a population of 200,000 that funnels through Erie, but um, definitely has that small town feel, where it's good and bad. The weather's always crap, but it has its own interesting things. And the main thing really is we saw a definite need for high quality fitness in the area, because, and I'm sure you deal with it, a lot of times we talk to fellow gym owners and their biggest thing is like, oh my God, there's so much competition, there's so much saturation, there's so many people doing gym things. How do I differentiate myself? And for us, it's like, it's not that case at all, where
Yeah.
we had to literally go ahead.
Like the best way to be is just like if you're outrageously good at what you do, like
Right,
just
right, right.
you're the absolute best, then you get to kind of call the shots.
Well, and that's, I mean, when you're in a saturated market, you have to rise above it. Where for us, it was like we have to actually, Erie is so behind the times on fitness, we have to actually educate people on what fitness is now,
Yeah.
because it's 1995 here in fitness. So as opposed to like fighting for saturation and competition, our biggest thing is that we have to figure out like how do we make this more digestible because it's so different than what everyone else is used to, right? And there's a lot of ways to do that.
Are you saying that it's not a bunch of kickboxing and spinning and Nautilus equipment in your gym?
Not in our gym, no. We have many a gym in this area with that.
What do you mean? What do people do to exercise if they don't have those things?
I was gonna say, well, you walk into the gym floor and there's actually no machines on the floor. What do you do, right?
Yeah, just a big open space. What do you do?
Yeah, why are there kettlebells in open floor space? I don't even know what to do here, right? And you know my name, and I have a program, right? Go weird, right?
Yeah. I always like that. I think that's a funny thing that we didn't mean to do that at Grit Gym. I don't know if you meant to do it either, or you can tell me. But the idea that everybody would get their own individual program, that they would get something to work off of, and that you would have tailored things to each person. I remember somebody being like, "I'm not going to a gym where I have to carry around a piece of paper," and I was like, "What?" And then it kind of became our thing, like our reputation that everybody gets. And I thought it was just like well, yeah, of course you do, but that became our reputation. It was really interesting. I don't know.
Well, I mean, for us, one of the things we always talk about is because people will say like, oh, you don't like yoga because it's not what you do, or you don't like P90X because it's not what you do. Where our thing is that we're married to nothing except what works the best, right?
Yeah.
So if something happened that completely overhauled the way we did our operations here because it was better, we would overhaul our operations because we're not married to a kettlebell, a system, a model. With that said, we're always looking at what is absolutely best. And as of right now, we unequivocally know that the quickest way to get you to your fitness, fat loss, and lifestyle goals is a program that is individualized to you in as many possible ways as we can, from the exercise selection, your injury history, your medical history, the actual way we implement the programming, motivation, self-determination theory, behavioral psychology, like all those things, right?
They all
more.
Yeah.
Right? The more we can do that, the better a person's results. With that said, I think it'd be honored to have your own program you walk around with, right? For us, the coaches mainly have them. But I mean, if they want to hold their program, like, cool, because you get one of those because you are not like everyone else, right? You have your own individual needs that you need programmed for.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get to track it and you get to chart it and you get to progress within that. Like you can actually see the results as you go along. Not, this is the workout of the day. I guess I'll do it.
Well, and one of our things is that we don't guess, we assess, but also in terms of when you're actually in your programming, how do I know what you did 12 weeks ago? I don't care who a person is. Nobody's memory is good enough, even for 5 clients, let alone 200, to know, hey, what did you do 12 weeks ago? And how do we know when to change something? Right? Because we know that constantly changing your workout makes you never get better at anything, and that's not good. And we know that doing the same workout all the time doesn't work either. So how do we know when we need to change up? Because we don't want to change for the sake of changing. We also don't want to stay doing the same shit forever, right? And it's we track, right? We have written down.
Dude, I love having these conversations with you. For those of you guys watching, Danny and I have actually met at a continuing education thing, and I think we actually started talking about Pilates. That's not Pilates and yoga. We're talking about like how people think that we hate, like just what you were just saying, that we hate on yoga and Pilates. It's like, I don't hate yoga. I don't hate Pilates. There's a lot of really good things in there. And you were saying the same thing. And we started labeling them out. And we're like, these are fantastic. But this is like, who would you use this with? Or this has such a small, I really enjoy that conversation. So that's a lot of everything you're saying here is just like, love it. It's amazing. But what about your story? Like, how did you get started? Like, why fitness? Like, why did you get started in it?
There's a couple avenues. Part of it was that I was that high school student who every parent hates and every teacher hates because he'd rather not do anything and get the 80 to 85 than try and get the 95 to 100. Like, oh, but if you just applied yourself, you'd get 100. Like, yeah, but I could not apply myself and get 85 to 90. So I'm pretty sure video games win, right?
Yeah. That's what works. Yeah.
So part of it, I spent my adolescence, my early adulthood, looking for what would I want to do with my life, and I knew it wasn't that 9 to 5, that get a job, or work for someone type thing. Like I was always looking for that. And in addition to that, I was always very overweight from the time I was born. I was classified as like the fat athlete, right? Like he was good at sports, but he was fat, right? So don't make him run, but he can hit the ball far. He can tackle people. He can shoot the basketball. And when I graduated high school, at about 320 pounds. I think 313 is probably an exaggeration. But when what would have been my freshman year of college, where I didn't go to college right away, I lost over 100 pounds, and I was 200 pounds of loose skin, no muscle, right? Because I did it the way that the magazines, television, not even really as much internet at the time, but a little bit of internet told me, like, do a lot of cardio, don't eat a lot of food, don't lift weights because you get bulky. I literally lost 100 pounds, but it was bone density, it was muscle. I was essentially just 100, like a 2/3 lighter fat person still, right? So
well, you're a big dude. Like you're just a big,
right,
you're just a big.
When you're 6'4",
so like,
right?
Imagine 200 pounds, and I'm like, dude, like you would have been a rail,
right?
Like,
there's a picture of me arm wrestling at 200 pounds. You can literally like see all of like my bone and neck. And at 6'4", 200 pounds, you are, according to BMI, you're normal, but you're not normal as far as like a normal looking person, right? Over the course of the next 3 or so years, I gained back all that weight I had lost. So I was back over 300 because that's what happens when you destroy your metabolism, right? It just rebounds and you can't do anything but again be where you are because you didn't do things right. So when that happened, I had been about to graduate college, so I had about a year left, but that was when I kind of realized, okay, this fitness thing is something I'm interested in because I need to learn it for me, right? Because I did it the way everybody says, and it didn't work, and it actually left me worse off than if I hadn't done it. So I need to learn how to do it right. So that kind of led me down the path of working in a gym, eventually befriending a trainer and getting certified with him. Started training there as I was finishing my bachelor's, and we kind of looked at, hey, how do we do these things right? And over the course of time, I lost weight the right way, learned that cardio is not the best utility for fat loss. Strength training is. Over working out and under eating is a recipe for disaster, right? So you learn all these things, you learn how to do it right. And that led me to helping people there. And then once I was in the fitness world, I realized most people who are in the fitness world don't know either. So now I was like, okay, I have to go learn.
Well, we're all students, right?
Right.
Like, the more you learn, you don't know. Like, we're all students forever.
Well, and that's a pillar of people who are successful. Right? We never are content with what we know. We're always going to be learning because we're always a lifelong student. Right.
Right.
And I think as I was delving into that, I came across Alan Cosgrove on T Nation, and he was at the time his big branding was how cardio doesn't work for fat loss and what we need to do. And that led me into his world. And one of his biggest lines is that the only competitive advantage you have over competition is to learn faster than them.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and I still do, right? Because people call me a continuing education junkie, but I'm like, I'm going to learn faster than you, and I'm going to implement faster than you, and I win, right?
Yep. Yeah, and you are too. Like, talk about a wealth of knowledge. It's great to just sit down and talk with you because, and you don't just take it for face value. You take and you analyze it through it, and you're like, what can I use here?
Well, and because there are some amazing fitness things that do not work well in application, right?
Yeah.
So we mentioned PRI before the call. That is an immense rabbit hole with a ton of great things that works exceptionally well in a physical therapy model, right? But in terms of what it actually means to my team here at my gym.
Yeah.
It's something, right? But it's not this immense amount. So as you learn, you don't just learn everything and like, oh my God, I'm going to throw everything at it. You learn to have a filter. Hey, how does this fit? What is better? And is this better in terms of what we're actually doing, or is it better and it hurts what we're doing?
Yeah.
Right. So let's know what works for us, because it'd be nice if we had this one size fits all model. It would be nice if cardio worked for fat loss. It'd be fucking simple.
Yeah, it'd be
Right?
awesome.
It just doesn't. Right. Treadmills, right?
You'd be cheering people on as they're on the treadmill, right?
Yeah, we'd be on the erg right now, right? Like just
yeah, it just doesn't work very well. But yeah. By the way, guys, PRI stands for Posture Restoration Institute. It's a way to use breathing to help your body change its posture and to then realign and get better position so you can be healthier. So that's what we were talking about there. But so you've been doing that. How long have you been doing this now?
Formally in Erie since 2009 when I graduated college. So I did my internship at a gym that I eventually worked at. They actually hired me to do front desk and sales. And I had my certification prior because I had been training prior. And what actually ended up happening is, and this is a good insight to gyms in Erie, is all of their trainers are independent contractors, right? Or were at the time.
Yeah, and, common thing back then.
Well, yeah, and they just paid rent and essentially ran their own business. The gym wanted to run a in-house personal training program, but they had one guy who didn't have a flexible schedule. So I was selling these training programs for in-house training, and we didn't have trainers to actually train it. So they're like, hey, you're still certified, right? Like, do you want to train these people? So I was literally selling the training and the memberships during the day, 8 to 4, and then training from 4 to 7, 4 to 8, and then doing the front desk from 8 to 11:30 midnight.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how the training business in Erie started. And a kind of pseudo pretentious thing is that what ended up happening is people are seeing these clients and they're like, hey, these clients aren't sitting on machines and they're actually getting results. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, isn't that what it's supposed to do? Like, if we're not getting people results, what are we doing? Right. Yeah, but we can go down a rabbit hole there that we don't need to. But at the same time, it was like, hey, this guy actually goes and learns things and brings them back to his clients. Like, what's he doing? And it snowballed from there. I rented a studio inside, like a racquetball court turned into studio inside that gym. So I went from on the floor there to a studio plus on the floor. And then eventually in 2013, we moved into this facility now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so you've been to 2009 to now, so like 8 years. That's pretty good. I mean, you're coming up, you've already passed. So like a lot of the reason I ask that is because the career length in this industry, like people don't realize this, that like how like tough doing this job actually is. The customer service, energy, the effort, the focus that you have to put on people to help to make them successful, to also make sure that your business is successful. Like the average career length in our industry is 18 months. Most people almost everybody has a mental breakdown between year 6 and year 8 of some kind. So like it's tough. So like something has to drive you, and I really wanted to know, like, what is that thing? Is it just a massive curiosity? It is a conviction to helping people. Like, what is it to you that keeps you driven to help people and to keep learning?
There's two, I think, primarily. One is the selfish one, where I always want to be learning and improving, and it's an easy avenue for me to constantly get better at something. But then the other piece is like that unconditional desire to help people, especially from the component of not making the same mistakes I did. Because now we call it like the era of fitness misinformation, where 20 years ago you didn't get confused because there was like one thing, right?
Yeah.
And then whether it worked or not isn't the case. But now there's so much shit information that outweighs the good that it's super hard for the consumer and the person who works all day, takes care of their family all day, takes care of her husband, to let alone find the time, energy, and money to do this shit. But also, like, then what do you do, right? Because having someone invest their time, energy, money, and faith in something that doesn't work, it literally like makes me upset.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, I'm with you. It drives me nuts. It makes me want to like when I hear about stuff across town. It's like I have a hard time not getting in my car and going over there. Yeah, it's just
oh yeah,
like they're either they're stupid or they're thieves. You know?
right.
Yeah,
Well, and
it's bad. It's not good.
yeah, because sometimes they mean well and just don't do it well, and sometimes it's like, okay, let's just get as many people in the door as possible. And I think the main thing that drives me in that regard is like when someone does P90X and it does not work for them, the dialogue that they have internally is, I failed at this.
Right.
Thus, I failed at fitness. And I'm like, the fact that P90X does not work for 99% of the people does not mean you failed it. It means it failed you. You're not a failure. So the more people do that, the yo-yo diets, the fad things, the shitty boot camp beatdown gyms, the dialogue is then reinforced that they failed at fitness when no, fitness failed you. And that's why we're here, because we don't, it's just not acceptable, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like someone comes to your gym and you're working on stuff 2 months in and you're like, this just isn't making the kind of progress that we want. You go back to the drawing board, right? Most people just keep on sitting there and pounding and pounding and pounding. And they're like, I guess I'll just always be fat. I guess I'll just always be this. I guess I'll just always be that. And it's super sad to see that like not just that fire inside them die, but also just the acceptance that that this is your status quo, this is your normal, like
right. Well, yeah, because
I guess this is my life. Like it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, yeah, because the norm becomes I don't feel good, I don't have energy, and stuff hurts.
Yeah.
Where it's like it does not have to be that way.
Right.
Right. But you have fitness things that perpetuate worse than that, let alone the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the basis behind the mission, right? Changing the way fitness is done. Well, it used to be changing the way fitness is done in Erie, and now it's kind of evolved in changing the way fitness is done as I'm kind of expanding my role in the fitness industry because I want to help the most people help the most people.
Right.
Right. And that's the goal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Ours is to inspire the experience that you want to live. So Perfect. Like, yeah. I just think like everybody, like ultimately when it comes down to it, what do you actually here in life for? You're here to experience this thing. How do we enhance that? Well, we gotta get your health in order.
Well, the difference between living and existing.
Right. Exactly.
Like let's do shit. Right.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we talk about here is like the goal of fitness isn't to do more fitness things. Right. The goal of fitness is to make you do more shit you enjoy.
Yeah. To go live your way that you want to live it. Yeah, like
wake up feeling good.
Not to be an exercise basher, but you see these dance fitness classes or these cardio kickboxing. And I'm like, why don't you if you want to do kickboxing? I'm cool with that. Go do a real kickboxing. Like learn from kickboxing. Don't get a crappy workout with crappy instruction. If you want to go learn how to dance, go do a real dance class. Don't try to get a crappy workout with a crappy dance instruction. Like go get the real thing.
Well, and that's so a mediocre fitness program coached savagely well, works pretty well, right? There's a gym in the area that it's mainly like hitting a heavy bag boxing based, and it isn't that I'm anti hitting a heavy bag for your fitness. I'm anti you not teaching people how to punch or coaching form while they're doing these things.
Yeah.
Right. That's the issue, not necessarily what they're doing.
Yeah, like you wouldn't put a max load on a bar and then start teaching someone how to squat.
Right.
Why would you do?
On the flip side of the coin, the expert program coached shitty is shitty.
Yeah.
Right. And it's about the balance, because it has to be coached well. We have to know what we're doing and why and do it well. And then we have to, how do I actually do this thing? Right. Because knowing what to do is important. Right. But then how do I actually do it in the long term is a different thing, right? And just taking care in mind to all of those things. And doing shitty form will not last long.
No.
Right?
Might not last for one rep.
Right, literally.
Yeah. We hear horror stories all the time. Just from apparently we're like the third place that people go. Like everybody they go and get hurt somewhere and they go and get hurt somewhere and then they come into us.
Take a different spin on the third place.
I
Yeah.
have to try to do, yeah, exactly. So I have to try to do this. Like, I'm not going to bash that place. I'm not going to bash that place. So I've just started being like, well, that's a bummer. Well, that's too bad. Well, let's just move on to something that's good for you instead of something that's bad for you. Like figuring out how to communicate. That's been interesting.
This is something we struggle a lot with, right? Because what we have to do is educate on why certain things don't work. So it's not like that facility sucks. It's
Right.
that doing certain things this way is not good.
Yeah. Or
Right.
your body just isn't going to, like, you weren't going to hit, like, you throw 1,000 punches on a heavy bag and you haven't been off the couch in 6 years. It probably wasn't the appropriate means of exercise for
Right.
you. Like, there might not be anything wrong with throwing a bunch of punches or getting your heart rate up. We do need to get your heart rate up, but like, you didn't have any business doing that kind of volume.
And like, going in, you haven't done anything in 5-10 years or ever, and the first thing you do warming up is running circles around the heavy bags. And like, person can't walk, let alone jog, and then do shit when they can't breathe. Like, probably not going to do that well, right?
Yeah, it's the same with throwing a barbell over your head, or just
you can't do this, but let's do a snatch, right?
Yeah, you can barely hold your body weight up, but let's try to do some chin-ups. It's just it's kind of interesting, but not bashing it, like still putting a positive spin on it. But at least you tried. Never really.
Well, and one of the things we talk about is that people will say like something is better than nothing.
Yeah,
and that's true to a point. But at some point, I'd rather you do nothing than something that hurts you or something that makes you have an internal dialogue that you failed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like what should, like, all of our number one priority should be to prevent training related injuries, right? Like, nothing stops progress, nothing stops the mental side. Like, oh, I got an injury. It always hurts when I go do that thing, but that thing is good for you. So we got to make it so that it doesn't hurt. It amazes me. So number one thing to reduce injuries, and then later on down the line, then we can start moving towards the goal.
Well, and it's missed on a lot of people where like the better you feel, the better your joints work, the less pain you have, the better you are to facilitate whatever goal you have.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're not going to reach any goal, fat loss, fitness, whatever, if shit hurts all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I don't know, like, have you had a lot? Like, I've had tons and tons of injuries. The whole right side of my body has had a traumatic injury at some point. Like, have you had a lot of injuries along the way, or have you put it clear?
Oh, I think we could like compare features and see, because I doubt you have me beat on the amount of injuries and ridiculous shit. So part of the creation story was that fat loss rebound story, and the other part is that every time like I try to do anything traditional strength training wise, I would get hurt.
Yeah.
Right. Because I am the person who like they call like athletes are master compensators. I'm certainly no athlete, but I can get through and survive the thing, but then I'm broken. Right. So in terms of looking for fitness things, one of the things that gravitated me toward DVRT the way it did, my co-host is encroaching on my space.
He's invading
one
your
of the things,
personal boundary.
One of the things that brought me to DVRT the way it did was, hey, there is something more to making exercises easier or harder than simply adding or decreasing weight. 100%. And now I know how to train myself through more variables to make things more challenging, more effective, better for my goals without getting hurt.
Yeah.
Right. And it kind of revolutionized the way you looked at programming, because I was like, oh, I could really never work out for a long period of time, nor sustain any goals because I would always get hurt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily that like I was doing stupid shit. It was I was doing what was normal, and I just am not that person. Which, as now you see, especially as people get older, when you don't move, there's a lot of things that happen, and you can't just go do the jump squats at P90X.
Yeah.
Right, because it doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah. That's one of my favorite things, actually, is when people say, well, I did, like, when it hurts, I just don't do that thing. I'm like, well, that's a good idea, but maybe you should just change. Maybe we need to overhaul the whole program.
Well, and when something hurts, rule number one is always remove the cause.
Yeah.
but that's only one, right? You have to figure out why and fix it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we gotta do a thorough assessment, figure out what might be going on. And I mean, like, if something's truly in pain, like us, like we don't get to sit there and try to fix the person and play doctor. We gotta refer out.
Right.
That's one of those things. Like, if you refer out to a physical therapist, are you going to lose a client? Or if you refer out to a physical therapist, can they not come into you? Like, you can still do both. Like, if a person, we talk about this all the time, where like if a person has a shoulder, they can still crank their legs. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's our kind of smart ass line is, a doctor, physical therapist, medical professional who you probably shouldn't put too much time, energy, and faith into when they say do nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like don't do stuff on the injured part, but like I have a bum shoulder. That doesn't mean my other shoulder, other arm, and my legs can't do something. Right?
Yeah. You still got 3 good limbs and a core, right?
Well, I broke my arm. I'm not sure if the scar. So I broke my
Yeah.
arm, and the doctor, she's like, okay, no lifting weights and doing any of that crazy kettlebell stuff. Like, do nothing. And I'm like, Doc, what happened to my other arm and my legs? It's like, no, you know what I mean. And I'm like, no. See, the problem is that the average person doesn't, and they will listen.
Right.
Right? Where he was actually surprised at how quickly I healed because I trained my core, my left arm, my legs, and it made me heal faster because I worked what needed to be worked and didn't do the things that I couldn't.
Yeah,
Right?
you got tension on the tissues. You got things going on. Like, can you share the story real quick of how you broke your arm?
So I got married, and as a wedding gift, the team members at the gym chipped in and bought a 52-kilogram kettlebell because our biggest size prior had been the 48, the Beast. So they bought a 52, and I was performing the Turkish get up with the 52. And again, this is a good example of like my life, that nothing went wrong form wise, but in the transition, the kettlebell snapped my radius.
Yeah.
No one else had ever seen or heard really, because people, they'll hurt their arm like doing a snatch and things that have like impact, but no one has ever seen like a radius just snapping under a load when everything was 99% perfect form wise.
Yeah.
Right.
You might have had like a cyst in the bone or something like that too, but still, like, I mean, it's you got a nasty scar going on there.
Yeah, it's literally from here to here.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome.
When he took the cast off, I had no idea it was that big. I was like, wow.
You're like, well, this is a bummer. I'm already married.
Right. Well, if it had happened the week prior, I would have been in a lot of shit. So, if it had to happen, right?
Yeah, if it had to happen, it happened with good timing. But well, Danny, anything that you want to leave the people with? Any words of wisdom, things that things that have gotten through to people that you've worked with, or you can go anywhere you want with it.
I think to kind of piggyback up we mentioned earlier, when a client comes in, there's a lot of care in mind in their eyes to the knowledge gap and knowing that what they do is important, right? So we know that we need to do the right things to get results, right? So with that said, the knowledge gap is one thing. Doing the right thing is probably the most important part. But a person walks in our door, we have that taken care of now because we're going to give you the right things. Then we have the behavior gap and the thing that no one seems to talk about enough, which is, hey, what happens when I know what to do, but I can't seem to make myself do it or make myself do it consistently? So we have the behavior gap and the behavioral psychology, the motivation science, the self-determination theory of what does long-term motivation look like, right? Because acutely, we can grit through 21 days, 28 days, maybe a little more than that. But what happens when that short-term, transient, acute motivation wears off? Like, there has to be more care in mind to what does the sustainability process look like, right? Because we can beat the shit out of you for 6 weeks, but if you're broken for 12 after that, I would have rather went 50% for 18 weeks, and so would your results.
Yeah.
So I think the shift from like, I can program nerd the hell out of any room, right? Because that was what I was interested in, and that is what truly works the best. But at the same time, like when we have the absolute best programming available, individualized to that specific person, what does the process of getting them to do that over the long term look like, and why? Like fulfilling their needs for autonomy, competence, belonging, all the things that actually build up motivation. And I think that's kind of where the fitness industry will shift. And precision nutrition is kind of going there, where they kind of took the motivation world into nutrition. Where I think maybe we should be looking more toward the motivation world for motivation stuff. But the shift is happening because why does the client who's been there for 2 years stagnate and not want to do it anymore? Why does the person who was gung-ho balls to the wall for 6 weeks not continue, right? And like having care in mind to all those little things that P90X doesn't talk about. Like just not being where you are should be motivation enough. Bullshit, man. It just doesn't work that way, right? So I think bringing awareness to that is kind of well, and it gets people better results, right? And it's, you have conversations about, well, hey, why are we doing this, right? And then after we know why, let's work on how, right? Because boom, I just left the gym sweaty. Doesn't happen, right? It'd be nice, right? But it just doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. That sounds great. I might have to go back and cut that clip out, send it to you.
Oh, nice. Please do. Yeah, it'd be great. We were just having a conversation in our internal marketing meeting, and I went on like a Facebook marketing rant, and Jeff was like, we should have literally filmed that and used it as like a Facebook marketing done for you service sales letter. I was like, damn it, we're just going to record everything we do so that we can have little clips like that, little blurbs to have all the time.
Following you around, recording everything.
Just hire someone to just film shit all the time.
Yeah. No, that would be really cool. I actually really like your what do you call it? The things I think about, things on my mind. What is it?
Things I think about.
Yeah, things I think about. Like it's just like you can tell it's just like this mental, like just a thought vomit.
Well, and it's it started as a way to just get information like out of my head, but it also was part of like, hey, I need to educate, but also like I don't know, because when like you're writing a blog, you want to have like a purpose and all the things I think about. It comes out well, but it's only by accident because I just dump it all out there, and it's like this is what was randomly on my mind, and here's 3,000 words on that, and people are like, "You're long-winded," and I'm like, "Meh." Yeah, it's what I do.
Maybe it just makes sense to me because my mind works chaotic like that too. It's just like all over the place. It's like everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Yeah.
Well, that's because people are like, you literally have 15 tabs open in your browser. And I'm like, how could you not? Right?
Yeah, I have like 15 windows open all the time. I have to, on every one of these, I always have to close them all out. I'm like, oh, but I do it, close it.
So I use my second laptop on this so I didn't have to close out my tabs. I could just come to a different laptop.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, Danny, we got to wrap this up because I actually got to run to the gym, start beating up on people. Not beating up on people. Maybe I should change my word.
Making people better.
Helping people get better. But thanks, man. I really appreciate it. A lot of good stuff in this. This is fantastic. But
my pleasure, man. It's been a long time in the making. I feel like we tried this for a long time. Yeah, it worked.
And at one time, the tech just and it almost got us today too. But we
persevered. There we go.
All right, man. Thanks for being our